And we should be coming up on Facebook next. All right, so I think if you're watching this on, yes, if you're watching this on YouTube, you should be seeing me now. Hi. I am making sure I have Facebook pulled up correctly to do that streaming as well. So let's go ahead and get everything going. So in the meantime, go ahead and share, like and subscribe if you're on the YouTube. Go ahead and share this video to anybody that you know that may need it while I try to get these other pages secured. And we should be coming up on Facebook in just a couple of seconds. So I'm just going to go ahead and start on the YouTube side of everything until we can get Facebook to kind of pop up and do what I need it to do. So if we have not met before, hi, my name is Shannon Denny. I'm the owner of Vivify Educational Solutions. This is a tutoring and educational consulting company that I created. Initially, it was to support students that I saw that had different special learning needs and maybe just needed some more of a boost. But I'm really happy to announce that now we will be going full supporting of our students with special needs. I'm currently a teacher that works with students in preschool special education classrooms, and special education is something that I have been doing for a long time, even if I didn't know that. So I've really been thinking about things lately, and the way that my school system is set up, I've been able to observe students in different arenas, and that's when I really saw the push to support students with special needs, just to make sure that they are getting those additional out of school opportunities as students that do not have special learning needs were able to receive as well. Sometimes it can be a tad bit difficult to find someone that knows how to work with students with various disabilities such as autism, Down syndrome, specific learning disability, even certain medical impairments that may hinder a student from fully absorbing information during the school day. When they leave home, it's kind of like that's it for them. A lot of times parents don't have the options and the resources to really continue that learning as other parents do. So I want to definitely make sure I'm branching out, reaching out, and supporting all of my families as much as I can. So everyone continue to like, continue to follow. I think I'm almost there with the live video on Facebook. I apologize, but we should be getting started in just a second. Awesome. I think everyone on Facebook can at least see me now. Hi. Okay, Facebook, you guys should be able to see me right now. You should be able to hear me. If you can't, just comment on the video and let me know so I can adjust my settings. But I believe we are good to go. Let me hop on really quick just to make sure everything is coming through the way that it should. Awesome. I think so. I think everybody is on now. Okay, so let me start all of this over. YouTube already got the first snippet of the preview because they pulled up first. I'm not sure why. But hi, everyone. My name is Shannon Denny. I'm the owner of Vivify Educational Solutions. I own a tutoring and educational consulting company that supports students previously with and without special needs. But my announcement for the day is that we support students with special needs fully now. I'm really excited about that opportunity. I have been in contact with different members of the communities of students with various learning disabilities, health, orthopedic impairments, medical needs, who have really been looking for someone that can work with their child kind of outside of the school day. Of course, now everything is kind of a school day since we're all online, but a lot of parents were saying that there weren't a lot of opportunities for their child to receive that extra help that they may need outside of what's done in the classroom. So after talking and kind of considering some things, because I am a special education teacher myself, I decided to just go ahead and jump full in and do this. So I'm really, really excited to get to meet new parents, to get to meet everyone, and just start to see how I can help everyone's child to be the best version of themselves. So I'm going to click. Okay, I'm clicking back and forth between three different screens just to make sure everything's still running the way it should be. So I am going to go ahead and pull up. And we're going to go ahead and get started since I am behind trying to get all of these technical issues taken care of. So I had a wonderful PowerPoint all made up for you guys, and for whatever reason it won't load. But as all of my fellow teachers know, you can't let that stop you. And this is all about online learning. So this is one of the many things you will encounter. I luckily am prepared, which is one of my first points that I wanted to talk with you guys about. It's making sure that you are able to kind of float and move around and do whatever you need to do to best support your students. So let me kind of give a little background about how I decided to do this class. So as everyone knows, we have a lot of parents in a lot of different places. By that, I mean we have parents who have students all in school completely. We have parents of students who some are in school because of if it's a daycare or preschool program, childcare center. Some can go to school, some are online. You have other parents who do what's called a hybrid learning method, where you have certain students that come in on these days and they don't come in on other days. So parents are really all over the place. As an educator, when I talk with my parents and I kind of get feedback from them and my friends and family, it's pretty much been a consensus of, what do I do? What is all of this? How am I supposed to make it all work? A lot of parents feel that this is way too much for them to do. They didn't sign up for this. And I agree 1000%. I chose to be an educator and a teacher. A lot of parents did not. So I want to let you guys know that I have been hearing you, and I wanted to kind of go ahead and give you some tips and some tricks about how to make this work. Since I did make the PowerPoint, everything will be available in the on my page. And I'm also going to start a group just for parents who want more information, and I'll be sharing it there as well. So one of the first main points that I guess I wanted to make sure that we all talked about was how to make sure you are providing your child with the best opportunities. And the first thing is for you to stop and breathe. A lot of parents are so overwhelmed by everything that they have to do from this day to that day that they really don't take an opportunity to just breathe. So we're all going to breathe together. If you're here on this video, this is your 3 seconds of relaxing time that I wanted to give to you. So inhale, exhale, and inhale, exhale. That's probably the first time a lot of parents have just stopped to breathe in a while. And I feel really, really compelled to say you cannot pour from an empty jar. Meaning if all of your children, all of your responsibilities are the cups, but you are the actual jar or pitcher that they're getting everything they need from, if you're empty, you have nothing to give to them. So in order to make sure that you are supplying them with everything that they need, first start by making sure you are okay. And if you're not, that's okay. You can always research different ways to improve self-esteem, self-care, work-life balance, all of those things. But make sure you are aware of how you're feeling, because it would definitely spill over to your children. So after you kind of have that first little aha moment and you start to realize that, hey, maybe I need to get something else going. Maybe I need to reconsider something about this whole online learning thing. The next thing I want you to do is kind of take away the idea that you previously had about what school is. If your child is at home learning fully, know that it's not going to look just like school for obvious reasons. The building's different, they don't have their teachers, their friends, which means you can only do so much. There's not an opportunity for them to necessarily pass classes where they go from one room to a next. There may not be an opportunity for them to go to certain specials in person. But that doesn't mean that you have zero options for providing your child with a snippet of some of those things. And notice how I said a snippet and not the entire thing. A lot of parents are eager to recreate the learning experience at home from top to bottom, and that's not what it is. If I told you to suddenly turn your office into your home, you would immediately say, well, we can't do this part or we can't do that part. Some things just aren't appropriate, or some things just don't feel right. That's the same thing with at home. Not everything is going to fit, but make sure you are conscious of that. With that being said, the next big piece I wanted to discuss with everyone is begin with the end in mind. Some of you have heard your students say that. You've heard that at the schools. I don't want to botch the title of the book and the author and all that. So just know you can always look up begin with the end in mind. And what that means is start how you want to end. If you want to end strong, if you want to end with a feeling of success and achievement, start that way. If you start feeling defeated, and if you start feeling like this is way too much and it's too overwhelming, that could very well be what you end up producing in the end. And that's not what we want. Also, that means have a plan. So if you know that you have to work and the students have their different classes to go to, I have a blog post on my website where I discussed how to make a dry erase board without having to really spend a lot of money. So what I did, just to give you a snippet, and you can go to verifyeducationalsolutions.com, it should be just /blog to see it. I went to Michael's and I got a picture frame. I got the thinnest but largest picture frame. I think it ended up being like 27 by 30 or something like that. And all I did was I took the paper that's usually in there that has like the measurements and it has the barcode and the name of whoever made the frame, and I flipped it around, which made it white. The frame itself were just those pieces of plastic that slid on and off on all four sides. I slid them back on. Ta-da! There's my dry erase board. That's it. You don't have to necessarily spend the $50 to $60 or $70 on a large dry erase board. You can start there. Also, there is something called dry erase paper. You can get that off of Amazon, where it's not a board, it's just a roll of paper, but it has like a whiteboard surface on it. So if you have a wall in your home that you don't mind putting it up on, or you may already have an picture frame without the glass, so to speak, you can get the paper, put it into the picture frame, and then you have another dry erase board to use. You can cut that to make it whatever size you want, just to customize the feel for you guys. With that, you're going to create a schedule. I cannot stress how important having a schedule is. So a lot of times parents are, they have all the balls in the air and they're trying to juggle them. You can't do everything at once. So what I suggest that you do is you start kind of with what's called a backwards calendar. If you know that, let's say all 3 of your kids have a test on Friday, but before the test, they have these other assignments to do. Start here and work backwards to make sure they get those assignments done. Some teachers are giving parents that and students that option to, as long as the work is done by this day, you'll receive credit. If that's the option, go for it. Take it. Schedule out the times that you know you can do things. Schedule out when your child kind of learns best. I'm not a morning person. However, I've learned that certain things I'm more willing to do in the morning than I am in the afternoons when I really want that time to do other things. So what I do is I schedule a favorite or an easy task first. Then I follow it up with the hardest task that I just don't want to do. Whatever subject that is, whatever that may be. Then I follow it up again with another favorite task or another thing that I like to do. Then I follow that up with the next thing that I don't want to do. Doing that with your child helps them to realize that, hey, you have to get it done, but there are different options we can use to make sure we accomplish the same goal. From there, you can let them work independently. A lot of students don't like to feel micromanaged and they want that independence. Wonderful. With that dry erase board, they can write out whatever they have to do for that day, whatever's due in that class, whatever their assignments are, mark the board off themselves, and that way you can come back and check. They're able to do work independently. You are able to take some time away to go do some other things, whether it be housework, if you need to work yourself, whatever you need to do, tend to other children. You have to set up the schedule to work for you. If you're not required to be in front of the camera a full day and you only have your child has a class at this time or they have a class at that time, do whatever you need to do. Make sure they attend the classes at all possible because a lot of them are mandatory. Around that, work it out amongst yourselves of how you can best achieve your goal. So after that, the next thing to do is to discuss expectations. So we all would love to think so highly of ourselves, but being realistic, some things are more likely to be done than other things. So if I know that I want my child to have work done by this time every day, make sure you enforce that expectation. The child will become more, they'll become more accustomed to it. And then while that's taking place, you also have the opportunity to make sure that they know what is expected up front, so you don't have to stay on them every single minute of the day. If you do it that way, they tend to see, okay, I know they're going to come and ask me for this work in a second. Let me just go ahead and get it done. With that, have an opportunity for them to write down any questions that they may have. Sometimes students get stuck and they feel as though, okay, I just need help. I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to sit here and not do anything. Give them the tools to strengthen their own educational learning experience. Hey, while you're going through this, if you have any questions or if you want to know anything, jot it down to the side. Keep going through the lesson, keep going through the activities, jot those questions down, and then we can come back and discuss it. I can help you formulate an email to send to your teacher, or I can help you find the material, the questions in the material itself. Allowing them to do that lets them keep working. They keep that momentum going, but it also lets them see that you are concerned about the questions that they have. A lot of times kids may feel like, oh, they just want me to do the work. They don't care if I get it or not, as long as it's done. While that may be what's in the back of your head, for them and for this to work long term, you have to make sure it's a give and take process. Once you have your expectations set and you actually stick with them, don't be afraid to reevaluate. Sometimes you start off with great intentions and it should work, but for whatever reason, it doesn't. Don't be afraid to pivot and change and come up with a new game plan. No successful business has stayed with the exact same blueprint. Everyone grows. Everyone adds things, takes things away. You have to continuously evolve in order to be successful. If your child becomes accustomed to something and you realize that, hey, that's not working like it as well as it used to, acknowledge that growth, that they were able to stick with something, and now just find something else to motivate them. And I'll talk about motivational rewards and things to do in a little bit. So next, I'm going to get into the portion of what do you do when you don't know what to do? A lot of parents say, okay, I know how to parent. I know how to do all these things. I know how to teach the material. But what about the things that I don't know how to do? What do I do then? How do I expect my child to learn if I'm not able to teach them? You have some resources. I say all the time, Google is your friend. Google is your best friend. Of course, with caution, of course, with making sure that you, the parent, are always monitoring what's going on and making sure that it matches information. But I want everyone to realize that there's multitudes of ways of finding information. I've come across some things myself when I have students who ask, well, what about this, that, and the third? And I look at the question and I say, I don't see it in your notes, whether it be because they didn't take notes or they didn't bring the notes with them. I'm not able to look into the book, your textbook, for the same reason. Let me see what I can do. I never let them know that I'm stumped, because once they sense it, they're going to start to feel stumped. Always remember that problem solvers solve problems, but problem finders find problems. If that's all your child is doing and that's all you're doing with them, that's all that's going to happen. But if you guys solve the problems, they learn those skills as well. So you can go to different resources. You can just simply go to Google and type in keywords from the question. So if they're talking about, some parents say it's the new math, and there's a certain strategy you've never heard of before. Have your child to work on some different things while you grab your phone, your tablet, your laptop, and you go to different websites and see, okay, what does this mean? What does that mean? YouTube has lots of great resources. Khan Academy is another one. There are actually some calculators out. So I want to say sometimes some of my students and I, we had to, for instance, find the find the points that match this graph, or find the slope of this, or find something like that. There are calculators out there. One that I use quite often is called Calculator Soup, that allows you to input the information and then it shows it to you kind of like in a graph format. And a lot of them will explain it to you. So if you need to simplify fractions, or if you need to work with decimals, if you type it in, it'll show it to you. Now, again, this is with caution, because what you don't want your child doing is simply going to the website, putting this in, and then just getting the answer without receiving the material. But this is a way for you to kind of teach yourself some of these things so you know what's going on as well. Once you utilize Google, you then can go to the child's classroom themselves. Sometimes parents are so focused on just the notes or whatever just the assignment is. Usually, if you step back and you click throughout what's in that Google Classroom stream or the Schoology stream or different resources that's in Clever, you can find the answers to your questions, especially if your child may be wondering, okay, well, how do I turn in this or that? If you go back to the classroom itself and take a look, a lot of the answers are there. If you go to the emails, you can find some questions, the answers to some of your questions there as well. Okay, so you've given me some great points on how to find out the things that I don't know, but technology is not my strong point. Well, luckily, I love technology. I have been in love with technology for as long as I can think. Now we have the students that can take your phone. They may be 2 years old. They can take your phone and know how to work it completely. I could essentially take a computer. I would do it at home. I would take my disk drive out, look into it, and then hurry up and put it back and see if it worked. I would go in and delete certain codes and programs in the computer and then put them back to see, okay, is this working? So I love technology. I love every aspect of it. One thing you can do, and I hate that the PowerPoint won't pull up on this new interface that I'm using, but I would be so remorseful if I didn't share this. Screencast is amazing. So with screencasting, screen mirroring, screen sharing, you're able to take what is on a smaller device or on one device and share that to a separate device. And I'm so upset because I had pictures and everything. But for instance, I was on my laptop. So I'm a teacher. We have lots of reports to do, lots of materials to find, lesson plans. This screen was too small for me, and this is a normal size laptop. My eyes couldn't take it. I was getting tired. So what I decided to do was to share my screen from my laptop to my TV in the living room. By doing that, I was able to get out of that chair, because sometimes the chairs we sit in are a little hard and we need something with a little bit more support and cushion. Sit on the couch, relax a tad bit, and then still watch what was going on the screen, navigate using the keyboard. If you have a wireless mouse, that's even better, to still get these things accomplished. I tested it out with my nephew's class today. I wanted to see, because I utilize a Mac primarily, wanted to see how did it work on a Chromebook, because that's what a lot of parents are using with their child. It does work. There is a feature on there where I was able to screencast his Google Meet from his Chromebook to the TV, and it played through the TV. So if you ever wanted to know, well, what's going on in that class, but those screens are too small for you, screen share it. You can also screen share things from a phone to a tablet, one phone to another phone. There's lots of different ways to do it. Please utilize that, because if your child is getting really restless and they're just feeling like, oh, I'm so tired of sitting here doing this. If you are able to screen share to a different location, and you know it's a safe place for them and they don't have to worry about a lot of noise and distractions, let them do it. They need the freedom. They need the breathing room just as much as we do. If this is difficult for adults our age, just think of how a child is feeling when they really can't control a lot of things that's going on. We have more control. They don't. So that give and take works. That can also be a bargaining tool. If you have, you've restricted access to an iPad or a tablet, and your child just wants it in their hand, work something out with them, talk to them and say, hey, if we can stay on task and if we can make sure we're getting things done, I can see if I can get it pulled up on this for you, or if it can be on that for you. Lots of ways to work around it. Also, another way to utilize technology with your child is by turning on the closed captioning. So we've all seen it. Closed captioning is usually like two little C's on YouTube, and I'm not quite sure what it looks like in some other places. But that's where anything that your child is watching or watching, I know there's another way to do it if they're going to just listen, like they're just going to read it and they want to listen to it. That's text to voice output, and we'll talk about that in a second. But with the closed captionings, that allows your child to actually read what is being said. I turn them on any video that I have to watch that has that capability. Sometimes when I'm just scrolling through Netflix and I want to watch my favorite show, I turn it on. It's helped me tremendously. And in my nephew's Google Meet, they had that closed captioning option. So even though it may not have been 100% accurate because it was in real time, he was also able to not just look at the teacher. If he wanted to read to strengthen those reading skills, he could do that as well. Please make sure you turn that on, especially if your child loves YouTube. Turn that option on, and every time they're watching something, the words will appear for them at the screen if the video has that option. So we've talked about a few of the ways you can use technology. I am going to attempt to see if I can get this screen share to work so that I can show you guys the model Google Classroom that I set up, so we can at least explore through that one today. If not, I will just talk you through it. And like I said, I'll get it pulled up later. But while I'm doing that, I wanted to just take a moment and talk about the social emotional aspect of how things affect everyone. So, a lot of parents are very familiar with how their child has been affected academically. However, this has also been affecting children a lot when it comes to that social emotional aspect, meaning they've been they don't get to see their friends as much. They don't get to be involved in some of those outgoing activities that they previously did. And with a lot of parents, they can start to see it. Students that previously were very outgoing and bubbly and upbeat, they're starting to kind of mellow out some. And it's not because there was anything wrong in the beginning. It's just they are having to wait a lot. So one thing you can do is make sure you're asking your child, okay, so what's going on with you today? How are you feeling? What are some different things that are happening? By doing that, you're letting your child know that you actually care, because a lot of kids may feel that parents don't. They're just all about this or all about that. Give them the opportunity to talk about what they're feeling about. Sometimes parents feel as though it's a child and they need to stay here and do these things. But those are the same children that eventually grow up to be adults. And those are the adults that we say, why do you do things that way? You have the opportunity to kind of circumvent that process now. Other things you can do is allow your child to make choices. You have enough choices to make on your own. A creative way is to start with a favorite time of the day. So if your child really loves to be able to go outside, hey, we have a lot to get done today. Would you prefer if we went outside before we did math or after we did math? They still have to do math, especially if math is that part that's not a strong subject for them. But you give them that choice to make them feel like they have some say in it. And then it's like, okay, let's do it before. Now, if you know your child is not going to do the math when they get back, don't offer that option. Parents will tell me, well, I tried that, it didn't work. Say, well, did you know that they were going to come back and not do any math? And they said, yeah. Don't offer that option. Try something else. Hey, we have to get this math done. After we do math, would you like to have a snack or would you like to go outside? That's another way to structure it. Children are very, trying to find the right term. Long story short, they want to feel like they have a hand in things. If you give them a hand in things, you will see their behavior start to turn around. Also, allow your child to talk to others. So if they have trusted and vetted friends and family members that they haven't been able to speak with, try to set up a time just for them to talk, even if it's over the phone, for about 3 to 5 minutes. We have FaceTime, Google Duo. There may be other apps that the child can get on and use. Just try to set something up so that they can continuously get that interaction. If we're going stir crazy having to sit here, especially when all of the requirements were much more strict for us for leaving, students are doing the same things. Okay, couldn't get that to pull up. However, no problemo, the show must go on. So, I'm jumping over. I'm trying to jump between everything to see if I have any questions or make sure everything's still streaming correctly, and it is. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to talk parents through Google Classroom. That is the biggest platform or the biggest kind of way students are learning right now. You have Schoology, you have Clever, you have Google Classroom, and there's one more I can't quite think of the name of it that some parents are using. And of course, a lot of teachers are using Zoom. So when you go into Google Classroom, and I want you to kind of experiment and look around your child's class, when you get to that first screen, what it's going to look like is it should have, different classes that your child is in with their teacher's name. Sometimes teachers have uploaded pictures. Once you click on all of those different classes, you should see a page that says Stream. Here in Stream, teachers have the options to let everything that they upload be listed in order. So it may say, this teacher at this time listed this assignment, listed this note, uploaded this video, different things that are there, just to kind of show what's taking place in that particular classroom. If you go to the classwork tab and you click on that, the classwork tab is going to show you a lot more than the Stream will. So sometimes parents are looking at Stream and they're saying, well, I don't see what's going on. I don't see it. Go to classwork. In the classwork tab, that's when assignments and materials will be listed with a little bit more information. Classwork is also where your child will turn in a lot of their materials, okay? So if you're still in classwork and you want to really see, well, what is my child missing or what's not there? What you can also do at the top, and I'm trying to get this to pull up quickly so I can really show you guys, but I may have to go around really quick and pull up something different. But what you can also do, there should be something that says assigned work, missing work, all, something like that, that's going to be in the upper left hand corner. If you click on one of them, it will show you all the assignments that your child has been given for that one particular teacher. It can also show you what has been turned in and what has not been turned in. So a lot of times parents say, I don't know where that stuff goes once they click submit or once they tell me it's done. That's where it is. That's also if your child's teacher uses Google Classroom really strongly and they make sure to upload everything there, you should pretty much have a running list of all the assignments that were given. So if you want to say, okay, I don't know what my child needs to be caught up in. I don't know what they're missing. If you look there, it'll show you. Also, if you click on it, it takes you back to the classwork page where you can see the assignments. You can print that page, that screen, either through screenshots, either through print screen if you're on a desktop, laptop, or I want to say there is an option to print that through Google Classroom. I'm not 100% sure, but that way you can match. One big tip. If your child says that they turned something in, check to make sure it has been turned in. Sometimes students will honestly click on something, but it won't fully turn it in. For example, they will go through an entire section or an assignment on Edgenuity, for example, or BGIS Accelerate. But at the end, if they don't click mark as done, it will never show that they actually did that assignment. That's one way to head off in an argument where your child is very adamant and saying, I know I did this. However, you're saying, well, it's not been turned in. But I tell my students, if you don't have proof, it never happened. Always have proof that these assignments were done. Each child, I know this is true for public schools. I'm not so sure about private schools. Each child has an email account and a Google Drive. I would get in the habit of having your child upload everything that they do to Google Drive. Why? Because if at any time something is missing, but your child knows that they did it, instead of looking through your different folders on your computer, you could even be out somewhere and you receive an email that says, such and such didn't turn this in, it's due by XYZ. All they have to do is log into their Google account, go to the Google Drive, and some devices will let you even log into Google Classroom on the phone to upload it again. Save yourself the trouble. Believe me, it will definitely help. Also, set up a time to meet with your child's teacher if you have not already. They have a lot of specific tips for their classroom and their teaching style to help you. It's not necessarily a huge bother if you try to set that up now. What is a bother is when it's the time for grades to be turned in, or it's something that needs to be done, and it's an influx of emails that say, help, 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 help. Start now. Get to know your child's teacher. Get to know how they are so that you can say, now, you know, Miss Such and Such is really going to want you to do more on this aspect. Then this other teacher wants you to focus here. That way you can be the support and the reminder for your child. And so once you leave that section of Google Classroom, you have classwork, you have Stream. You also have an option if your teacher has uploaded things to their Google Calendar or their Class Drive folder. That's another section for you to look in to find different resources and materials. So that's like a really, really quick Google Classroom tutorial. There's so much more that can be done, a lot more that we can go into. But I just wanted to discuss that part. And I want to start listing some of these other websites that I really, really love. I'm just going to type the name so I can make sure I don't get anything wrong with like the URLs and extensions and everything. So this is it in Facebook. Let me make sure I'm putting it on YouTube as well. So Kahoot. I love Kahoot. Your child has probably talked about Kahoot before. It is one of the best things I have seen in a long time. What Kahoot is, it's a way to kind of quiz yourself, but in a game interactive format where you can gain points. The only drawback to Kahoot that a lot of parents and teachers have stated is if the way that it works is you have to have one device to show the questions, but another device in order to actually answer them. Some parents and teachers have been able to get around this by doing a split screen, which I'll be talking about later on in a different video. Splitting your screen up so that on this screen, on Google Chrome, for example, you can have the Kahoot questions up, and on this screen, you can have where you actually answer. What's another fantastic way to do it? Your smart TV. Some smart TVs have that capability in order to have a web browser there. If it does, type it in and go. Or if your child has multiple devices, screencast one device, like I was talking about earlier, to a larger device and let them use the smaller one to answer the questions. There's lots of different ways to do it. Quizizz is another way to do it, or Quizlet. Those are all different formats that have ways for students to do some self-teaching. Love them, wonderful. If your child uses Schoology or Clever, let me give you this quick rundown. What is Schoology? Schoology is a house, and inside the house, you have lots of different rooms. What is Clever? Very similar, if not almost the same. The only difference is with Schoology, I can use it pretty much just like Google Classroom, and where I can send out different alerts. I can send out this, I can send out that. But with Clever, that's where you have all of your logins. So let's say your child has 7 different websites they have to log into for this classroom. Clever has all of those, so you don't have to remember these passwords anymore and usernames. They go to Clever, and it will show where all the different icons, and they just click, and it automatically will log them into that one. Schoology, what it does, it has a way for all of your teachers to send you information. Again, very similar to what Google Classroom is doing, except Schoology doesn't have like an interface where you can add email, so to speak, and you can do the Google Drive thing, you can do the Google Meet. It's different, but that's where your child's teacher can put all of that information. They can put links, resources, they can post assignments, grades, attendance, everything can be housed in that Schoology platform. Trying to see. we're coming up on about 45 minutes, and I didn't want to keep you guys too long. So I'm trying to see what was, when I created this presentation, I had my points I had to hit. Then I had kind of my wild cards that if I had time, I can talk to you guys about later. And I think I have hit them all. Going through my list, yeah, I think I've hit the most. Yeah, I've hit them all. So if you guys have any questions, if you have any comments or anything like that, go ahead and put that down into the different chat boxes. I can see them all. So on YouTube and on Facebook, I can see those. And let me know if you guys have any questions or anything that you would like for me to answer. And while we're waiting on that, I will give you guys a little info about my company. So right now, we are working with students and from preschool through 12th grade. And when it comes to working with students with special needs, a lot of times people say, well, that's a really big age gap. It can be, but we have to remember that some of our students learn in different ways. So some things that I may need to use for this student in high school may actually apply to what I use for this child in elementary school. Those are some of those basic materials and methods to motivate learning and to motivate that autonomous learning process within the child. Everything is conducted online right now just to make sure everyone's staying safe. However, if you feel as though your child learns best in person, I am evaluating with everything going on when's the best time to start that. That doesn't mean that we can't make that session fun. One thing that I will say that I love to do is make sure my students actually get it. This is our sessions are not the mundane kind of just sit there and it's this, then this, then this. No. A lot of people are shocked when they see me in action with my students at work and with Vivify because I put on different voices and facial expressions and everything because you have to keep them captivated. This is already difficult enough for them. You have to make it individualized to them. I always start with a child and see, okay, what are some of the starting issues that the child may have that you guys already know about? What are some things that I'm seeing that may need to be supplemented? We come together, we discuss it. Then I make sure that I keep all of my parents in the loop with everything that's done. A lot of parents have questions about certain processes such as, well, what should my child's IEP or individualized education program look like? What should I do if I feel that my child may have this or they may be suffering from that? What are some different things that I need to do? Also, sometimes childcare centers and preschools and nurseries are saying, okay, I have this child who is exhibiting this, that, and the third behavior. What on earth do I do? That's where the educational consulting part comes in. We work with different churches, schools, private and homeschools, as well as public, parents, caregivers, anyone that may come into contact with a child with special needs in order to guide and coach you through the best things that you all need to do. Let's take a look and see anything else. So one thing to make sure that you always keep in mind, I'm reading a question from my YouTube aspect where they wanted to know what's one thing that they really can do to make online learning easier is to make sure that you make it fun. A lot of students are used to a completely different side of their parents. This is when you get to show them the really, really fun side of you that they may not know. If they're younger children, become much more silly and animated with them. If they're the older students and you guys are already bumping heads, show them, hey, I understand. I have rules, I have expectations, and I expect you to follow them. But let's talk. What is really going on in the world? What's happening? What are you feeling? This is what I'm feeling. Connect with your child. that is the number one piece of advice I can give. Make sure you connect. There's a lot of things that you may not be able to do because you're not a teacher, but as a parent, that connection is always going to be unique to you. So I am going to go ahead and wrap it up. These videos will be able for you to view later. I'm not going to have them, they're not going to delete once this live is over. If you have any more questions or you just want to know what we're doing and you want to stay up to date on any tips and topics that I may post related to parenting, education, and special needs, make sure you like the Vivify Educational Solutions page and follow. On YouTube, that's on Facebook. On YouTube, like, share, subscribe. And also look out for the Facebook group that I'm creating just for parents of students in the online learning sector. And I'm also, which I really wanted to show you guys, I have created a Google Classroom just for my parents. So what will happen is if you ever have any questions and you're like, hey, I don't know what's going on, in the Google Classroom is where I will be able to check in with you guys and say, hey, how's everything going over here? What are you thinking? Do you see how when I posted this, it showed up this way? We can have those interactions within that Google Classroom aspect. I think the only requirement is that you have a Gmail account that's not attached to a domain or anything like that. So I'm really excited about that, to be able to interact with you guys more. If you need anything, all my contact information is listed online. Definitely go to the website, and I look forward to seeing you guys for my next video. Stop streaming.